Folks, well, as I'm recording this, it is the end of May 2018 in northern Illinois, and our first really warm weekend is coming up. In fact, it looks like it's going to be maybe 70 degrees for a low and humidity in the 90s, which is going to be some oppressive running weather compared to what people are used to. And of course, other people deal with that, much earlier if you're down in Florida or in other parts of the world. And I always talk a lot about the fact that effort trumps pace. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about, running and planning and training in general to kind of help lay the groundwork for don't worry too much about having to adjust for conditions. So every run that we do is essentially either for recovery, to maintain your fitness, or to improve your fitness. And actually, most of them are going to be about recovery and maintaining, because you can only improve so much. Improving takes some time, but we do have, runs that are designed to improve your fitness. Now, virtually everybody trains by distance and pace, but you really don't need to train by distance and pace, because running and recovery and maintaining and getting better is actually about duration and effort. It's about how long you're running, not how many miles. It's about the effort that you're putting into that, not the pace, because your body doesn't respond by saying, well, Mark ran 7 miles today, that must mean, or Mark ran at such and such a pace. Your body doesn't know that. What it does know is how long you ran for and what that effort felt like. And there's a physiological adaptation that we get from that. So really, all you need to run, sorry Garmin, is just a stopwatch, which is what people use for Millennium. You really don't need GPS or any of that stuff. A simple stopwatch will do it, because running is about duration and effort. So I'll just give you a few quick examples. 90 minutes is something that we look at when we're planning training. 3 hours is something we look at. 20 minutes is something we look at. There's 5%. There's a lot of math involved that I actually work backwards when I'm writing training plans for people, building into what is the duration that they want or what will be the miles for them based upon the numbers that we want to have. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say lactate threshold. That's a common thing that we might do in running, is have you running at your lactate threshold. The duration for that is typically 20 or 30 minutes. You usually want that type of run to be at least 20 minutes. Very rarely do you want it to be more than 30 minutes. So somewhere in that range is what you want it to be. The effort that we're looking at is, that effort is described as moderately hard. You can speak in sentences. You don't want to talk, but if you could, you can kind of get out a sentence. That's kind of the effort that we want at that lactate threshold. So let's talk about that effort. If that effort is something that for you is about a 7-minute pace, that means I'm going to back into it and say, okay, well, 3 times 7 is 21. I want it to be, 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to give that person 3 miles. Conversely, if I think that your lactate threshold is right around 9 minutes, I'm going to give you 2.5 miles. That's going to put you up a little bit more, around 24, 25. So you're actually doing more work than the person with the 7, but you hate to tell people to run 2.25 miles or whatnot. But again, in both those cases, I back into how many miles you're running based upon the fact that I want you in that 20 to 30 minute window. The sentences effort for 20 minutes would be a lot easier. It's simpler to just go to people and say, hey, we want this moderately hard effort, something you think you could maintain for an hour. You should be able to talk, but only in sentences. Do that for 20 minutes. And if that ends up being 2.87 miles or whatever that number is, that's not relevant, because the body's not responding to the pace or the miles. The body is responding to your effort and how long you did that for. So in conclusion, just remember that effort always trumps pace, and it trumps pace both ways. If you're supposed to run 9 in that particular example, and it's hot and humid, then maybe it's 9:15. If the effort is right, that's really what we're after. It does go the other way though, too. If you're well rested and the day is nice and cool and you feel great, then maybe you ought to be doing 8:45 that day. So really, if you want to, just tell me to get rid of the paces altogether and give you the effort. But when all is said and done, effort trumps pace, because running is really about duration and effort.